weeks, and welcome to another edition, or a special edition, if you will, of the Wizards Wednesday Rewind. So, as you know, previously, Mike and I, we were putting it out to you, our listeners, our viewers, to vote on what new comics from the comic shops coming out in a specific week we should buy. And then we come back on Thursday, we review what we bought on Wednesday, and it was going well. But comics are expensive, especially these special issues. Spending $10 for a single comic, it kind of broke us, in the wallet. So we decided that we're going to have just a little bit of a break. We're going to come back in July with the main episodes. We'll have you voting again. But we couldn't help stopping by the comic shop on our own, though. We still have our interests. Mike has successfully gotten me hooked on these new stories coming out each week. And so we picked up a few books. These are our host's choice, if you will. And we want to share with you what we thought about these comics that we were excited to read. So, Mike, talk to me. What did you find? Where did you get this book?
I recently did a convention. Well, actually, it was a comic bash. It was a store doing a big outdoor festival thing, and I got to meet other creators there. And so I met the two writers of this book called Atrium, by Steve Bino and Peter Van Horn. I apologize if I've butchered either of your names. I just wanted to talk about this because I got a chance to read the first issue last night. The art is so damn good in it. It's very cinematic. It's like you can see it's like widescreen panels. If you're into like stories like Heat or like Michael Mann, intense stories, action movies, this is the book for you. I also peeked at issue 2, and it does seem like there's a bit of a twist I don't want to give away. So this book was kickstarted, Adam, and you can also find it at cons. The first issue was kickstarted a while ago, but they just successfully funded issues 2 and 3, and they had 2 and 3 there. It's basically about this team who are transporting a heart to someone in the city that needs this transplant. But they're not saying what the deal is, but there's this other people who are after it. It's a bit of a mystery, but I see this big twist happening in issue 2, and I'm very curious to know where the series goes. So I think you can get it from Comics Asylum Publishing, which is I think their label. Definitely check it out if you're into. There is some horror in it. I can tell you that much. So it's pretty cool. The art is fantastic. The writing's great. Check it out.
Okay, cool. Yeah, definitely. At first, I was like, ambulance drivers? Madam Web? Is that what we're
No,
looking at here? Much better. Okay.
much better. There is a mystery here, and I'm curious as to who's getting this heart.
Who is getting the heart?
Yeah.
So as far as for me, what I wanted to go in and find, because I'd been checking the racks, I didn't look up like when the release date was. It was just like, is it gonna be there when I walk in the door? Previously, we had reviewed this issue of Batman, and it introduced me to the concept of this failsafe character and this guy who's like an alternate reality Batman type character who was in Bruce Wayne's mind, but they got separated. And now he's in the failsafe robot body, and failsafe is basically trying to keep Gotham City free of crime better than Batman. And Bruce Wayne's on the run. He was in prison. I mean, there's all this stuff going on. I'm like, what is happening? But I love just the concept of, okay, Bruce Wayne is not in control of the Batman persona right now. Somebody else is taking over. They don't know it's not him and all this other stuff. So I was like, what is the next issue gonna be? What could possibly happen? Because basically, as it stood, like there was a new Robin that was created, like cloned, and then like it was cloned from Bruce Wayne. So Bruce Wayne was Robin now. Like Failsafe is crazy. He's doing a lot of weird stuff. So then I had to go in and finally this hit the racks. And I was like, is this the right one? Batman versus Batman? And I was like, okay, 148. Batman 148. This is it. And this is the wrap up. This is the wrap up
Oh,
to this whole fail-safe storyline, which I only got into an issue prior. Uh, and what happens in here is
perfect timing, Adam. Perfect timing.
yeah, I mean this was the right time to get in, but basically like Batman assembles all the Robins. So you have, Jason Todd, you have Red Hood, you have Tim Drake, you have Nightwing, and then you have Batgirl is helping out to Oracle. Batgirl and what's the other one? Alarm or Siren. There's some other some other Batgirl character. What was her name? Let me just check real quick. Oh,
Spoilers?
Signal.
Oh,
Signal.
Signal.
And
Yeah.
then there's Spoiler. I know is old school. Anyway, so they're all like teamed up to try to help Batman in this plan, and the plan is to deactivate the failsafe robot. And this is where I was like, okay, I see what's going to happen here, but it happens so quickly and not clearly that I was like, I had to reread it 3 times to understand what was happening, why Batman won. but basically, like the twist was, spoiler for anybody who hasn't read it, but he basically says, okay, this Zur character was in my brain, but I got rid of him, but I could still access his memories, so I could access how he created the failsafe robot or got into it, so I know how to deactivate it now. And then he's like, but I need him to kill me so that I could reset my brain and all the stuff that Zur was in my brain and affected won't be affected anymore. So I have this serum that is Lazarus Pit serum, and I've created a new armor, and the armor will inject it through tiny needles all over the armor when I die and bring me back to life, and then I will be myself again. And you're just like, what? Huh?
I love it. That sounds
It
awesome.
was wild. So, and I think he had Oracle. This is also unclear, like deactivate the robot and make it malfunction, and that's how he got the upper hand to kick it once, kicked a hole in it, ripped out a few wires in a tiny panel. He's in silhouette ripping out wires. But then the final thing is he has to fight this guy because the way he actually died is not from failsafe. But there's this guy, what's his name? I don't know. Everybody who's been reading the stories knows better than me. I don't know. This guy who supposedly like trained him. I can't remember his name right now, Jonathan or something. But he's this guy who trained Bruce Wayne back in the day, but then he also teamed up with the Joker at some point. And then he's saying basically, I programmed a word into your brain that if I say this word, it will kill you. And Batman knew he was going to do that, so he lets him say the word, and then that's when the Lazarus serum brings him back to life, and then all the Robins and everybody beat up this guy, and I'm just like, this was nuts. There was so much packed into this issue. Like, it was crazy. So I'm
Okay,
just
I have
saying,
not read it yet, but I feel like I need to run right now and go read it. This sounds so bonkers, and I
it
love
is.
bonkers. So,
Yeah, so definitely comic book storytelling as you would expect. A little bit murky, like I say, in the execution, but ultimately it's just about these are my sons. There is a real heartfelt moment where he's talking to all the Robins. He's like, I need you as my family. You bring me out of the darkness. I need so like it's got like kind of that moment as well while they're preparing to go in for their final mission. So
that is amazing.
quite an issue, quite an
Okay,
issue. All right, but speaking of quite an issue, Mike, there's a series you've been. I think we put it on our poll once, but it didn't get voted on, and we've been waiting for a chance
I
to really
know.
talk about this.
I'm disappointed by our listeners, watchers. They should be voting for Geiger. But maybe they're not voting because they know we'll just give it a great review because it is a great series. Like,
Well, by comparison to everything I just had to explain about this Batman issue, Geiger is so simple. It's so straightforward. Johns is just a master of pacing and character development, but also giving you your little hits of action and then your mystery. Like everything just flows so nicely. Like
yeah.
reading this, I was just like, oh, it's so relaxing and enjoyable.
Okay, okay. So Adam, we're 3 issues in. You haven't read any other Ghost Machine titles yet, right?
Well, so
Besides Rook.
no, Junkyard Joe,
Oh,
because
you did.
I
Okay,
have the first 5 issues of Junkyard Joe before it was Ghost Machine when it was Mad Ghost.
gotcha.
So I know Junkyard Joe, but yeah, but everything else other than that primer
So
issue. Nothing.
The like teaser in the beginning, you kind of understood what was happening there. I was wondering if you were thrown off, but
Well, I
you're
mean, yeah,
caught up.
so the beginning is this thing about Junkyard Joe talking to, like, he has like a flashback talking to the red coat character who's telling him, you got to go find somebody. And so like there's all, but see, the Ghost Machine, all their books have this timeline in the back.
Yep.
So it helped me realize, oh, okay, so eventually these characters are probably all going to meet up on this
Well,
timeline.
that's how Junkyard Joe ended. They kind of preview it, like
Yeah.
here's what's coming, and you can see the characters are crossing over.
Yeah, but this particular story I thought was really cool. It has a lot to do with books and the
Yeah,
importance of books to, the Geiger character, the glowing, you
like
know.
he will kill someone over a book. Like,
Well, and he explains that once everything went terrible, like books were the only thing he and his family had that could kind of like give them an escape, that could give them some peace in this terrible, terrible world. And so there's this one particular book that he wants, but it keeps getting destroyed or taken from him. And Nate, the Neon Knight, is responsible for that a lot of the
I
time.
love Nate. Nate is new to this volume of Geiger, and he's such a great addition. He's such a goof.
Yeah, well, and they go to a library like out of their way because they're on a mission as of the last issue. The glowing man wants to find somebody else that supposedly was cured, had
Mhm.
his condition, was cured, but they decide to stop at a library along the way.
Yeah, but then they get attacked by these characters, these
The Oregon
mutants,
people.
the organ people. They're new. This guy reminds me of a character from Total Recall. Do you remember? The design looked very familiar. I thought he looked awesome. Um, uh, but he takes care of them pretty easily. I don't think it.
Well, the idea of the organ people, just to set it up, is that they are, irradiated, so their
Yes.
organs are failing. So they kidnap people and steal their organs to replace and put in their own bodies.
I
That's the
think we're going to see more of them in the future.
Yeah,
What do
they
you think?
tease
Yeah.
issue 4 is like a full-on battle against the organ people. They do a cool, like old-timey 50s horror movie poster type thing.
So, what did you think about the ending of this? With I forget the dog's name, but it's Geiger's pet two-headed dog,
Yeah. Uh,
Barney. Barney.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
So,
I
do
thought
you
that was
think?
interesting because all throughout the series so far, there's been this guy in like a radiation suit kind of thing that's been following them, and just like a few panels every issue, they'll like, I'm kind of like, I'm on your trail. Oh, soon you will pay. So that was really cool. But I thought that was it's a good mystery that they've been teasing all along. Although I felt like the real crux of this issue was just the fact that Nate makes kind of a sacrifice. I just want to say because he feels bad that
Yes.
he caused this book that he keeps saying it's just a book, and then the glowing man's getting mad, he's just like, but so one night he leaves and like travels to some far off town to try and find that book for him again. He's like, I can't even read, or I couldn't remember the name of the title, but I remembered what the cover looked like. So I just looked at every book until I found it for you. And so it's like finally like the glowing man can bond with Nate a little bit. I feel like he's like, oh, he was
Yes.
willing to make that sacrifice for me.
But if you look, it looks like Barney followed Nate out, but never came back.
Yeah. And so
So,
he's been kidnapped. The last thing I just want to mention though, particularly to me, is they just got a little piece of paper that tells them where the name of the person and where they need to go. They're going to Lewistown, Montana. That is only like an hour and a half away from me. Every time I go to my in-laws' house, we cross through Lewistown. So it's just funny to me. Like it's taking place literally just up the
why don't you do pull a Geiger and walk there, Adam, one day with the
yes.
comics?
Well, I should at least cosplay and do
Yeah.
a picture of myself next to the sign and send it to Jeff.
Yeah.
Be like, yeah,
When we have Jeff on, you'll have to tell him this. So,
yeah. Like, and I'm going to ask, how did you choose this town? He's like, well, it's because it's a nothing town in the middle of nowhere. You're right. So when they get there finally, I'm going to be very curious. Do you show that one gas station?
Can't
Yeah.
wait to see this.
Yeah.
Which of these unnamed books are you looking forward to that haven't come out yet?
I
The the
mean,
one the one that interests me the most is The First Ghost. That's going to be written by Brad Meltzer.
I mean,
He did
I didn't even
Identity
notice
Break.
that on the timeline, actually. I missed
Yeah.
that one. Yeah.
And that's present day. So I'm very curious. Also, The Monster.
That's the one. I was just like, what's that going to be about? But also, like
Yeah.
Widow X, I feel like I've seen some preview images of, and that looks kind of cool. But it also looks like maybe just Black Widow. But I don't know.
I haven't seen anything from it, so
Oh,
you'll have
I
to
thought
show
there
me.
was a preview image somewhere. Maybe not. Maybe I'm mixing
I
that
don't
up
know.
with something
The
else.
the other is The Northerner, and I'm wondering, is he Canadian?
Yeah. So I mean, there's so much growing in this universe, and they're teasing
Yeah.
more and more. So, but yeah,
Okay.
until then, I'm just gonna keep buying Geiger because it's awesome.
Yep. Agreed.
All right. Well, those were our reviews. Those were the things we were interested in. Some wild storytelling. So something if you want to check it out and tell us what you thought. If you already bought it, leave us some comments below. We'd love to hear your thoughts as well. Like it, dislike it, that's fine. You dropped one of those books, that's okay. Either way. But thanks so much for checking out this episode. Like I say, we will be back with our regular editions of the Wizards Wednesday Rewind in July. There's one book in particular I have been waiting for. I can't wait to read. So hopefully you guys vote on it. We
Ooh.
shall see. But until next time, keep your books bagged and boarded.